teams have to do is perform their best dive to win a point for their team. Dives will be judged on artistic merit, so think Tom Daley crossed with Didier Drogba.
You look like a girl in Liverpool getting out of a cab.
The first thing most people noticed about Holly Willoughby wasn't fame, it was familiarity. She never felt like someone who existed behind velvet ropes or security gates. She felt like someone you already knew, the kind of person who might live down the street. Long before she became one of the most recognizable faces on British television, Holly Willoughby was simply a little girl growing up in South London. There was nothing extraordinary about those early years, no grand signs that she would one day become famous. She was normal, and perhaps that's exactly what made her so special. Some people seem born for television, others seem born for real life. Holly somehow became both.
Passengers, this is your final call. You have just 60 seconds to board this flight.
Ask for Mr. Gleebles. Ask for Mr. Gleebles to come.
Could Mr. Gleebles come to the check-in desk?
Yes, Mr. Dan Gleebles.
Mr. Dan Gleebles.
These aren't qualities that can be taught. Television executives spend millions trying to find them, yet some people simply have it. Holly did. No one realized it then, but those qualities would eventually become the foundation of her entire career. If you like stories like this, please hit the like and subscribe button. It tremendously helps us grow and do better. Thank you for your support. At the time, Holly was simply another teenager trying to figure out who she wanted to become. Then something happened, an opportunity. She was discovered by a modeling agency. Suddenly, doors that hadn't existed before began opening. Photo shoots, commercial opportunities, small jobs, tiny steps into an industry she knew almost nothing about. For many young people, these experiences can be overwhelming, but Holly seemed to adapt naturally. She possessed something producers love. She was easy to watch, not because she demanded attention, because she didn't. She seemed comfortable being herself, and audiences respond to authenticity, even when they can't explain why.
At home here.
Yes,
at home.
our favourite place.
Oh my God, you're stop! Hold on. Stand still. Stand still. Oh my God! Careful! I can't get it out!
Take the shoe off.
I can't get it out! Oh my God!
Have you been injured at work?
Nice socks, by the way. Oh my God, I'm exhausted.
You impressed, girl, didn't you?
I'm exhausted and we've only just started. Stop it!
As her career slowly evolved, she found herself moving into presenting. Over time, more opportunities arrived. Suddenly, Holly wasn't simply working in television anymore. She was becoming one of the defining personalities of Britain. Millions recognized her face, millions knew her name, millions watched her regularly. Yet, remarkably, she still felt like the girl next door.
Ministry, do hope you've had a fantastic time, but it's going to get that tiny bit better because, yes, it's time for the thank you desk. See you in a bit, Willoughby. There we go. So here she is, the lovely Miss Willoughby, and please give her lots of support.
Hello. I would like to say thank you to Nadia for coming on the Ministry of Mayhem today. And before we get brand new single, a little bit of action. It is our... I would like to say thank you to the Manning family. Manning to stay. I'm going to win you this prizes. Thank you, Dad, for setting that competition. Good luck to everything. I'd like to say thank you to Ray for racing. Thank you to the dog. He's got my little cool. I've got a little bit of sick. Keep it in. Next week is here with the thank you desk. Thank you very much for watching. CD Keys coming up next. If you want my neighbour's coming up with a show next week. Why don't you have a look at this menu? I'll tell you everything. Thank you!
As her professional life flourished, another part of her life was also growing, her personal life. She married television producer Dan Baldwin. Together, they built a life away from studio lights. They had children, created routines, built traditions. Despite the fame, much of life remained remarkably ordinary. No one realized it then, but somewhere else in Britain, another story was beginning. Investigators would later uncover online conversations that alarmed them. Conversations involving Holly Willoughby. Conversations involving violence. Conversations involving kidnapping. But investigators faced a much more difficult question. When does speech become danger? Which situations are escalating? Which situations require intervention? And according to prosecutors, this was one of those situations, because investigators allegedly found something deeply concerning. Messages, conversations, discussions about methods, discussions about logistics, discussions about how certain things might happen. That detail would become incredibly important. Investigators could not afford to ignore it. If they were wrong and did nothing, the consequences could be catastrophic. Conversations were allegedly escalating. Everything remained centered on one real person, a mother, someone who would eventually need to be told that people she had never met were allegedly discussing her abduction and murder. Imagine hearing those words. The idea almost feels impossible. Yet investigators were taking the allegations seriously. Every hour matters. Every new piece of information matters, because investigators know something everyone else doesn't. A person may be in danger, and according to prosecutors, they believed that possibility could no longer be ignored. Police prepared to act. The hidden story that had existed entirely online was about to enter the real world, and when it did, Britain would be shocked. The investigation had reached a turning point. The questions were no longer theoretical. The risks were no longer abstract. And what happened next would change the lives of everyone involved. Police officers arrived at Gavin Plum's home, and from that moment onward, the story would become national news.
Police! Stay where you are! Do not touch anything! Who else is home? What's going on? What the hell is going on?
Listen to what my colleague's got to say. Right, you're under arrest on suspicion of conspiracy to kidnap. You do not have to say anything.
What is going on? What are you talking about?
Mention one question, something which relates to line in court. Anything you do so may begin with.
Can you tell me what you're talking about? You're getting your babe, alright?
You are very gentle.
Necessities for the arrest are to allow for a prompt and effective investigation by interview and to prevent any further physical harm to the person. Okay, we'll talk about it back.
To who? Can you please explain to me what the hell is going on?
Yeah, so at the moment you're under arrest for conspiracy to kidnap.
Who?
Holly Willoughby.
I think those ones are warm.
That's the allegation.
Okay, where's that come from?
Like I said, it'll be explained to you in custody, and you'll be interviewed about it. I'm not going to tell you any further than that at this current time, okay?
Okay then.
But that is the allegation. Yeah,
I'm not going to lie, she's a fantasy of mine. I mean, she's a fantasy of lot guys, isn't she?
Right, okay. Go anywhere in Florida. Being destroyed.
Mate, if you'd have knocked, I'd have opened and spoke to you.
As you said, the reason
I was literally just about to go to bed.
The reason that they're going into that is because of the offence that you've been arrested for. We need to make sure that we can gather as much evidence as we can as quickly as we can. So you've had to put the door in to secure the evidence. All right.
You've got no.
Meanwhile, somewhere else entirely, Holly's morning probably began like countless others. The two worlds still hadn't collided. One person was simply living. The other had become the focus of a major police investigation. The arrest itself wasn't dramatic in the cinematic sense. Real investigations rarely resemble movies. Instead, they often happen quietly. But despite its ordinary appearance, this arrest represented something enormous, because investigators believe they may have interrupted something before anyone was physically harmed. The modern world leaves trails everywhere. People often believe private conversations simply disappear. They don't. Digital evidence can reconstruct entire stories, and according to prosecutors, that reconstruction painted a deeply disturbing picture. The allegations soon became public. Britain reacted with disbelief. The headlines sounded almost fictional. One of the country's most beloved television presenters, an alleged kidnap plot, discussions of rape and murder. The details were difficult to process.
I only really go out my front door to put a bin bag in the bin just outside the flat. And that's every few days.
This was Gavin Plum discussing his obesity on a BBC show.
When I'm in pain, the pain gets so bad that it's crippling.
Gavin Plum was a man, said the prosecutor, whose concern over his own problems masked his vile treatment of women. He was obsessed with TV presenter Holly Willoughby, but fantasy wasn't enough. He wanted the real thing and planned to kidnap, rape and kill her. He tried to recruit accomplices. He had thousands of pictures of Miss Willoughby. The prosecutor said he was going to abduct her at the home she shared with her husband. Jurors were told Plum revealed his plot in online voice messages.
Right, plan of action. I'll give you a brief rundown. Basically, we're going to hit it at night. Less traffic on the road, etc. Chloroform both of them. That way then they can both be easily restrained.
And to help him restrain Miss Willoughby, he had this.
Hands are ankle shackles.
I feel like Gavin.
In a chat room called Abduct Lovers, Plum encouraged others to join his plot. Holly Willoughby was his profile picture. He called himself Big Bear. Plum was also the administrator of an online group for Holly Willoughby obsessives. Some posted deep-fake pornographic photographs of the TV presenter. Such pictures were made illegal last year.
3rd of the 10th, 2023, Holly.
Plum, a security guard, was arrested after detailing his kidnap plot to an undercover cop in the United States. The officer believed Plum posed an imminent threat to Miss Willoughby. Later, Plum said he knew what police were after. 18 years ago, on the train to Stansted Airport, Plum twice tried to abduct an air stewardess. He was carrying an imitation gun. He got a suspended sentence. 2 years later, he was jailed after confronting 2 teenage girls at work in Harlow and tying the hands of one of them. Plum spent most of his time at home playing online games, according to a former girlfriend who'd followed the trial. During the trial, the prosecutor didn't read out aloud the worst of the language Gavin Plum used to describe what he wanted to do to Holly Willoughby. It was so depraved, said the prosecutor, it could have breached Miss Willoughby's legal right to privacy and might even have contravened the Obscene Publications Act.
For Holly and her family, the experience must have been surreal. Imagine discovering that your life has become part of an investigation you never knew existed. When did this begin? Will I ever feel safe again? Those questions don't disappear simply because police make an arrest. Fear rarely works that way, because fear changes things. Suddenly, ordinary routines may not feel ordinary anymore. Looking out your window feels different. Traveling to work feels different. No physical violence occurred, yet harm still exists.
Over a number of years, you pursued an unhealthy sexual obsession with Holly Willoughby that led you ultimately to plan over that period to kidnap, to rape, and to murder her. You researched her home address, her security arrangements, her daily routine, her route to work, her family. You assembled a restraint kit. You bought what you believed to be chloroform to incapacitate her and her husband. You intended to harm her husband and her children as part of your plan. You attempted to recruit several people to help you. You discussed with Mark and with David Nelson and no doubt others in hideous and revolting detail the prolonged sexual violence that you intended to inflict on Ms. Willoughby once you abducted her and had her under your control. You had previously been convicted of terrifying offences involving the threat of sexual violence against 4 different young women. I found you to be dangerous. You solicited David Nelson to murder Ms. Willoughby or to assist you in murdering her. You encouraged Mark and David Nelson to participate in your plan to kidnap and rape Ms. Willoughby. The jury saw through the various lies that you told at the trial and convicted you of these offences, for which I now sentence you as follows. For the offence of soliciting murder, I sentence you to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 15 years and 85 days. For the offence of encouraging or assisting the commission of the offence of kidnapping, I sentence you to life imprisonment with a minimum term to serve of 15 years and 85 days. And for the offence of encouraging or assisting the commission of the offence of rape, I sentence you to life imprisonment with a minimum term to serve of 15 years and 85 days. You may go down.
Some true crime stories end with violence. This one ended with intervention. No one was kidnapped, no one was murdered, and yet something precious was still altered.
Hi, good morning and welcome to your Wednesdays this morning.
The host of ITV's This Morning show, Holly Willoughby, knew nothing of the alleged plot, but quit her job soon after. She waived her right to anonymity, though she wasn't called to give evidence. She's since resumed her TV career.